Hello, this is RJ City, and you're listening to Live Audio Wrestling. Maybe rethink your decision.
This is The Law, Live Audio Wrestling, with the latest news, info, and interviews from the world of pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, and the best of combat sports worldwide. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Tidwell and Bradie Wedham.
All right, so we've got 2024 Backlash from France, of all places, going on. The WWE going to France. Okay, I'll bite. I mean, listen, we're going to have to see what's going on. Bradie, come on. What do you think about this? Give me a rundown. Is there anything exciting you on any of this?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited anytime that I see Jay in a main event because he's main event Jay. But when it comes to the pay-per-view as a whole, outside of going to Paris and just, you remember what it was like with the Paris crowd at the UFC. People sleep on Paris crowds. The Paris crowds are rabid. So I think the crowd is going to be the most exciting thing about this event this weekend. I think in terms of storyline, this is a transitional phase for WWE. So they're needing to lay out the groundwork for the rest of the summer leading into SummerSlam. I think this is the pay-per-view that begins this overall arc of these long-term storytellings throughout the summer and to the fall. So I think that there is some implications here in this pay-per-view that are going to be seen, but I don't think there's going to be anything severe like title changes or anything like that. I personally don't think there will be a single title change.
That's interesting. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on this one more than needs to be slept on, to be honest with you. I think that a lot of people are looking at it because you're coming off of the heels of WrestleMania, right? And you're like, oh, there's no way. And listen, if there's one thing the WWE knows how to do, they know how to put on pay-per-views. I think that you'll get at least one surprise. Now, whether or not that surprise, we can talk about that now, or we can talk about that after we get through some of these matches. And I think, personally, there will be at least one title change out of the 5 matches that we're going to talk about here right now, right? Mm-hmm. So go ahead, Bradie. Let's get this thing started so we can explain ourselves.
Well, in no particular order, because we never know the order of WWE events. They're not laying these out unless there's a prelim or something, but they're not laying these out in order until they either announce it or it sounds like we're not getting the announcement. So we have, we'll start at the bottom of the list here on their site. So we have Randy Orton and Kevin Owens versus the new bloodline, Solo Sikoa, and the debuting Tama Tonga.
Well, debuting in his first match, right? Because he's already debuted and we know that he's there and he's jumped somebody. And I think that this is just the beginning. I mean, obviously, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, you wish they were in some better position to be doing better things, but they're there to further this storyline for the bloodline. So I think that's a really good chance that you get to see Tama Tonga. I don't know if this is when you get to see a debuting Jacob Fatu, but it wouldn't surprise me if you did, because we need to build that new blood line. You know what I mean? Which is what Solo is doing right now, so that you can end up having more people that Roman and The Rock don't agree with being entered in there right now, so you can have that split up. So I think that that's a match where they're going to plant those seeds.
We'll take that Jacob Fatu name and put it on the shelf for a second, because I got a prediction with that exact name for later on in this event. Okay, so you predict that we may see Jacob Fatu or something implementing the bloodline storyline going forward after this match.
I think somewhere in this night that involves those two guys with Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa as well.
Okay. Next up, we have... I can't even say the name anymore without laughing because of what your nickname is for them. But the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, are defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, the Storm.
So when I said earlier that I think that there's going to be one title change, I think that it's going to be this one right here. I think that because this is a perfect time to cash in on the heat that is Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. They are on fire right now, and there's no better way than to get the Kabukaki Warriors off of without those belts and get them onto Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. 100%.
We made it this long without pissing off YouTube. We made it this far. That's a new record. Okay, next up we have Bayley versus Naomi versus the lovely Tiffany Stratton in a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship.
As much as everybody is very high on Tiffany Stratton, I think that this is not the right time for her to win that strap yet. I don't know if it's Tiffany Stratton. I think that Bayley's still going to run with this thing a little bit more. Well, it was either that or strap on. Don't give me the I think that Bayley's going to run with this thing a little bit more, but I do think that this implements that kind of a seed either there so that Tiffany can kind of showcase herself, whether or not she goes for that belt or it's something else. And you end up planting the seed where Naomi and Bayley end up getting into a program together, against one another. But I don't think that this is the time for Tiffany Stratton to shine to the fullest extent, but just enough to make you go, okay, yes, I'm invested and I want to see even more.
Okay, well, I do think you're going to see the title stay on Bayley for a minute. I think she's earned the title, and it'll be on her for a second. So I do agree with you. And now we have Damian Priest versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this is where I think you're going to see Jacob Fatu.
Okay, explain yourself.
I think the Bloodline's not done messing with main event Jay.
I can agree with that.
Here's the thing I noticed about Jay. The other night watching Raw.
Yeah.
They go to commercial break during his entrance. The crowd's losing it. And you don't see the crowd lose it like this continuously outside of the yes chant. I think it's the last time people were burning themselves out during somebody's entrance like that. They go to commercial. They come back. They're still doing it. Pat's doing it. Everybody's doing it. This guy's got a level of charisma that is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see Jay in main events more often.
I don't think that you're going to, the thing is I don't think you're going to see him win that belt from Damian Priest at this pay-per-view. No, but I think that you could be on to something because there's going to have to be something involved. Somebody is going to have to get involved. What better way? Imagine we live in a world where you get to see Jey Uso out there fighting for the title. And then out comes two members of the Bloodline, right? In Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, and they start laying the beat down. And who comes to make the save but Jay's brother? Now, that may not be happening on this pay-per-view because, apparently he's injured or whatever the case may be, but he's off of TV right now. So, but this is a great time to make it get a little cold. Make it get a little cold before you do that run-in.
This is either a Jacob Fatu thing, or this will just be another Judgment Day screwjob finish.
Screwjob finish, but I think that it's due, there's going to be some bloodline interference there. It'd be a great spot to see Jacob Fatu make a debut. It'd also be a really nice spot because that's a Judgment Day spot. It'd be a really nice time for Judgment Day to maybe run into somebody backstage, maybe a little Uncle Howdy action finally happens because I could see those That'd two, cool. That kind of Damian Priest and Uncle Howdy kind of squaring off, that whole dark side thing. I think that could be kind of neat too.
That'd be awesome, man. That would be so crazy. If you see Uncle Howdy finally show up.
Right? Could you imagine? I think that would be great. I think that the bloodline stuff, furthering that, because we're all waiting at this point for the debut of Jacob Fatu. It seems like everybody's okay. You've given us Solo on his own. All right. You've given us Tama Tonga. All right. Now we want Jacob Fatu. Right? So when you talk about things like that, when you talk about things like a belt changing hands and putting the women's tag belts changing hands, when you talk about, the match that you could end up seeing with some interference stuff with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, we haven't even talked about the fact that Logan Paul's going to be around there someplace. Right? The rest of Judgment Day is going to be around there someplace. There's a lot of people, auxiliary players on this pay-per-view that we haven't heard from yet, but they're going to be, playing a part. And if you think If you think for one god dang cotton picking second that you can just travel overseas and do yourselves a pay-per-view without our truth, ladies and gentlemen, you are sadly mistaken. Okay? Our truth needs to be in France.
Our truth has been in France for a long time, Chris.
He needs to be on this pay-per-view. Period.
Yeah, he should be on every piece of TV that goes out. I don't care if it's WWE Divas and they relaunch that show. It better be about our truth.
You're looking to sell T-shirts. You're looking to sell merchandise, and nobody sells more merchandise right now than that man. And maybe Jey Uso. I don't know. The stuff seems to be very popular and pumping off. So,
well, next up is our main event with WWE's biggest heel they have ever had in their company since Vince himself back in the Attitude Era. We have the heel of all heels, Cody Rhodes, defending his title against the TNA's faces of all faces, AJ Styles.
Yeah. Listen, after what you saw, what AJ, just coming off of with his match at WrestleMania, we saw the whole Cody thing. Listen, there's going to be no title switching hands here. You're not having Cody Rhodes running this thing for 2 years to finish the story just to turn around and drop it on the next pay-per-view. Crazier things have been known to happen, but I don't see a purpose in that happening at all because Roman's not on TV. That'd be the only person that it's going to happen for. There's no basis behind this. So you're either going to further some kind of story for AJ because you got to keep him in the mix somehow. So what do you do with him there? Right? Do you further that storyline with LA Knight?
You could. I think LA Knight costs him the title. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a huge pop out of the crowd because Cody's going to keep his belt. The crowd's going to love it. And then you're going to hear, yeah.
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 It's a win-win. And this is these auxiliary performers in the WWE that I was talking about that we haven't heard from because they don't have matches. But this is the first time over there for this pay-per-view, right? So they're gonna need to pop the crowd, and you're not popping the whole crowd with these matches because everybody seems to be looking at these matches going, what's the point of this? But trust me, people, you're going to want to watch the WWE put on a show because it doesn't matter. Even the lowest, what you might think the lowest on the paper might be for a WWE pay-per-view or a PLE, whatever you're calling it. They're still going to go out there and they are going to make you go, oh, wow, did you see what happened?
Yeah.
They're clever.
The only promoter that would ever book something like taking the belt off of Cody this early is wearing a neck brace right now. And we don't have to worry about that this weekend. So I'm excited for the event. WWE Backlash. Well, you got some words that you want to spit out here before we roll this right out?
Listen, Tony is not doing himself any favors right now over there. There is nothing. Did you just do the Steiner swerve? Is that what that was? We call that the Steiner swerve. When you run people off the friggin' road.
Steiner line.
Anyways, no, listen, nobody is changing anything up over on WWE other than what they're going to do. It's going to be a hell of a pay-per-view. Tune in.
And as we're recording this, the news got dropped today. Vince McMahon finally sold his last share. He's completely gone from the WWE. So this is the very first event actually put on where Vince McMahon doesn't own anything. Doesn't even own a piece of toilet paper. Nothing.
Well, listen, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before he starts a new promotion. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We called it here first. Vince McMahon will start a new promotion. And I can only imagine who's going to work for him. But whoever does work for him, you know what you got to remember to do? Oh, tuck your chin.